there, my friend. Welcome back to the channel. I am Dr. John Smith, and it is so incredibly wonderful to have you here with me today. You know, the other morning I was sitting at the kitchen counter, enjoying a warm cup of coffee, and just looking out the window. And I started thinking about how fast time moves, and how much we all value our independent lives. We want to be able to tend to our gardens, walk down the driveway to grab the morning paper, or hold our beautiful grandchildren tight without a single worry in the world. But lately, have you noticed a little change when you get up? Maybe you felt a bit unsteady on your feet when crossing the living room rug, or perhaps you experienced a slight wobble while walking down a flat sidewalk. It is completely natural to feel a little startled or even a bit vulnerable when that happens. It can make you feel like your own body is playing tricks on you. Or worse, it makes you worry about losing your freedom to move around safely on your own terms. Please, don't feel discouraged or keep this worry hidden away in your heart. I want you to take a deep breath and listen closely. You are absolutely not alone in this, and there is so much hope. Right now, I want you to go down to the comments section below and share your story with me. Tell me, how old are you? And when did you first start noticing that you were feeling a bit unsteady? I read your comments personally because knowing your exact age and your unique journey helps me understand exactly what your body needs. More importantly, when you share your experience, you are helping another person out there who might be feeling scared and lonely, showing them that we are all walking this path together as a supportive family. So please, leave your comment below and let's look out for one another. Now, when you start noticing that you are stumbling or drifting a bit to the side while walking across a perfectly flat parking lot, what is your very first instinct? If you are like most of my patients, you probably think, my legs must be getting a bit weak. I need to do some squats, walk more, or start taking calcium supplements to strengthen my bones. It makes perfect sense to think that way, doesn't it? If the walking feels unsteady, we naturally blame the feet and the legs doing the walking. But as a doctor, I see people make this mistake constantly, and they get so frustrated when they do all those leg exercises, and absolutely nothing changes. I want to share a very important medical truth with you today. If you are losing your balance on completely level ground, it is actually not a leg problem at all. It is a brain problem. More specifically, it is a matter of the blood supply getting a bit restricted to a very special command center at the back of your head called the cerebellum. To help you picture this, think of your legs and your muscles as incredible, beautiful hardware. They are like a perfectly crafted car. But a car cannot drive itself down the road. It needs a smart driver behind the wheel, telling it exactly when to steer, when to brake, and how to stay in the lane. That driver is your cerebellum. It is your body's personal balance computer. Every single fraction of a second, without you even realizing it, this amazing part of your brain is pulling in data from your eyes, your inner ear, and your joints to make tiny micro corrections that keep you standing tall and moving in a straight line. When it has plenty of energy, you walk safely without a single thought. But when its power supply drops, that is when the wobbling starts. To really understand how this works, we have to look at what walking actually is from a medical standpoint. It might surprise you to hear this, but in medicine, we describe walking as a series of controlled falls. It sounds a bit funny, but it is a literal description of your movement. Every single time you take a step forward, your body naturally leans in, and your center of gravity moves past your feet. For a split second, you are actually falling. But right at that perfect microsecond, your brain tells your other leg to swing forward, catch you, and plant firmly on the ground. This beautiful, continuous dance of catching yourself is completely managed by the timing of your cerebellum. Think back to when a sweet little toddler is first learning to stand up and take those first steps. They wobble, they drift, and they plop right down on the floor. It isn't because their leg muscles are weak. It is simply because their cerebellum is still learning how to run that complicated timing program. Over a few months of practice, that little balance computer finishes its training. The pattern becomes completely automatic, and they run around without a single care. But as we celebrate more birthdays and reach our 60s, 70s, and beyond, those coordination challenges can slowly start to sneak back into our lives. And this time, it has absolutely nothing to do with forgetting how to walk. Instead, it is all about oxygen and blood supply. Just like your heart, your liver, or your kidneys, your brain is a living organ that depends entirely on a rich, constant stream of oxygen-filled blood to do its job properly. Your brain is incredibly hungry for energy. In fact, even though your brain only makes up about 2% of your total body weight, it consumes a massive 20% of all the oxygen you breathe in. Because it demands so much fuel, the brain is extraordinarily sensitive to even the tiniest drop in blood flow. If that flow is reduced even a little bit over many years, the cerebellum simply has to run on lower power, and it begins to struggle with that split-second timing needed to keep you steady. In my years of clinical practice, I have noticed a very distinct pattern. When patients come into my office because they are feeling unsteady on their feet, they almost always have a few other symptoms as well. But because these symptoms seem so different, most people never realize they are actually connected. For instance, have you noticed your short-term memory slipping just a little bit lately? Maybe you walk right into the kitchen, stand in front of the refrigerator, and completely forget what you went in there for. Or perhaps you are telling a wonderful story to a friend, and right in the middle of the sentence, the exact word you need just completely vanishes from your mind. Yet, you can remember things that happened 40 or 50 years ago with absolute crystal clear clarity. Another common sign is feeling unusually tired by the afternoon. Tasks around the house that used to feel light and easy now feel like you are lifting a heavy weight, and by 2 or 3 in the afternoon, your brain feels like a phone battery left out in the cold, just completely drained. My patients often describe this as a thick brain fog, like trying to think through a blanket of wet cotton, where everything is just a little bit slower and harder to grab onto. If you recognize yourself in any of these descriptions, I want you to take a deep breath. Please do not panic, because this is not an unavoidable part of growing older. It is simply a signal from your body, a clear sign that your balance computer is running on reduced power, and it is something we can absolutely fix together. Let me explain a bit more about this incredible balance computer, the cerebellum, because most people have never been told what it actually looks like. It sits right at the very back of your head, nestled safely at the base of your skull. Now, even though it only takes up about 10% of your brain's total size, it holds more than half of all the nerve cells in your entire central nervous system. Think about that. Over 50% of your brain's processing units are packed into that one small, dense area. It is a marvelous piece of engineering, but it means that the moment its blood supply drops, you are going to feel it. According to data from the American Heart Association, keeping a healthy blood flow to the brain is one of the most powerful ways to protect your independence and keep your sharp mind as you age. When that flow slows down, it can cause small hidden changes long before any major medical event happens. I remember a lovely patient of mine named Carol. She was facing these exact same challenges, feeling a bit clumsy and drifting slightly when she walked down her hallway. Her doctor told her she was probably just tired and needed more rest, but she knew in her heart something else was going on. When we sat down and looked at the whole picture, we found that the blood vessels traveling up her neck were being gently squeezed by stiff muscles and misaligned joints. Her cerebellum was only getting a portion of the fuel it needed. We worked gently on her neck to relieve that pressure, and within just a few weeks, her family noticed a beautiful transformation. She was walking in a perfectly straight line, her energy came back, and that midday brain fog completely cleared away. That is the wonderful power of restoring fuel to your brain. So you might be wondering, why is the neck the big secret to fixing our balance? The answer comes down to a truly beautiful piece of human anatomy. There are 2 very important blood vessels called the vertebral arteries that have the critical job of carrying fresh blood to the back of your brain and your balance computer. But unlike almost every other blood vessel in your body that runs safely alongside your bones, these 2 arteries do something completely unique. They actually thread directly through the bones of your neck. Inside the side sections of your neck vertebrae, there are tiny, smooth holes. These arteries travel right through those holes, bone by bone, all the way up your spine. When they reach the very top, they make a gentle loop around the first vertebrae, the one your head rests on, and enter your skull. Once inside, they join together to form a main pathway that feeds your cerebellum and the parts of your brain that control your vision and memory. Now, think about what that means structurally. Because these vital fuel lines are literally woven through your neck bones. Any stiffness, tight muscles, or poor posture in your neck can directly affect them. If a neck joint becomes stiff or a muscle stays tight for months or years, it can create a tiny, gentle kink in that artery, narrowing the pathway just enough to reduce the amount of blood getting through. It is not enough to cause an emergency like a stroke, but it is a chronic, quiet slowdown. This slow reduction in fuel is exactly why we start to feel unsteady, forgetful, or tired in the afternoons. Our goal is to simply remove that mechanical tightness, help the neck move freely again, and let that wonderful blood flow right back into your cerebellum. This mechanical restriction is actually something that medical research has studied extensively. In fact, peer-reviewed clinical data published in journals on PubMed notes that age-related wear and tear in the neck spine, what we call cervical spondylosis, affects more than 85% of people over the age of 60. When this degeneration pinches on the delicate nerve pathways and structures in the neck, it leads directly to a profound lack of coordination and significant difficulty walking. But here is where most people go completely wrong when they try to fix it. When you feel a tight, stiff sensation in your neck, what is the very first thing you do? Most likely you tilt your head all the way forward, try to pull your ear down toward your shoulder, or start rolling your head around in big circles. It feels like you are doing the right thing, but as a physician, I have to tell you that this type of stretching can actually make your balance issues worse. When you move your neck that way, all of that force and twisting happens right at the middle section of your neck, specifically around the 5th and 6th vertebrae. That middle area is already the most flexible part of your neck, and it is already carrying the heaviest daily workload. Forcing more movement into an area that is already working overtime doesn't do a single thing to help the actual problem zones where the deep restriction is hiding. So where is that deep restriction actually hiding? It usually settles into two very specific areas that most people completely overlook. The first area is what we call the cervicothoracic junction. This is the transition zone right at the very base of your neck, where your neck spine connects to your upper back. This is exactly where that little bony bump tends to form over the years, the one people often call a dowager's hump. I want to reassure you that this bump is not a buildup of fat, and it is certainly nothing to feel self-conscious about. From a medical standpoint, it is simply a chronic mechanical block. Over years of looking down or sitting comfortably in a favorite chair, the muscles, joints, and ligaments in this specific transition zone become stiff and locked up. Because your vertebral arteries pass right through this area, that tightness acts like a gentle clamp on your balance computer's main fuel line. The second problem area sits at the exact opposite end, right at the very top of your neck, just beneath the base of your skull. This is the upper cervical spine. This area is incredibly crucial because it is the exact spot where those arteries have to make their final, sharp turn before entering the skull to feed the cerebellum. When the tiny muscles right under your skull become tight from tension or stress, they squeeze the artery at the last possible second before the blood can reach its destination. Today, we are going to use two distinct blocks of exercises to fix this. First, we will gently open up these locked zones in the neck, and second, we will give your balance computer a fun, gentle workout to wake it right back up. Let us begin with our first exercise block, which is all about gently opening up that stiff transition zone at the base of your neck. To do this safely, we first need to find a very special landmark called the 7th cervical vertebra. It is very easy to locate. I want you to gently drop your chin down toward your chest and slowly run your fingers down the back of your neck until you reach the very base. You will feel one prominent bony bump that sticks out quite a bit more than all the others. In medicine, we literally call this the prominent vertebra. The main reason this area gets so stiff is that when you turn your head from side to side, these lower bones at the base of your neck barely participate in the movement. The ligaments around them are naturally thicker and tighter, so they tend to get left behind and lock up over time. Our goal today is to give them a very gentle, helping hand to get them moving smoothly again. I want you to place the soft pad of your index finger right on the side of that prominent bony bump. Now very slowly, begin to turn your head to the right. As your head turns, use your finger to apply a very soft, steady nudge to that bone, encouraging it to rotate in the exact same direction your head is already going. Please remember, we are not forcing anything here. The ligaments between these bones are highly elastic, almost like a firm rubber band. You are only looking to feel a very slight, springy resistance under your finger. Once you feel that gentle tension, that is your perfect stopping point. When you complete that gentle turn and begin to bring your head back to the center, I want you to keep that light finger pressure on the bone for just an extra second. Don't let go right away. By holding it for just a moment as your head returns, you create a beautiful, therapeutic stretch right inside the joint capsule and the deep ligaments. That tiny, sustained stretch is exactly where the healing happens, helping to restore the natural alignment that allows your blood vessels to open up completely. If you feel that the bony bump seems to sit slightly off-center or leans more to one side, that is completely okay. Just use this slow, gentle movement to guide it softly back toward the middle. Every single motion we do should be focused on bringing your body back to a relaxed, natural balance. Once you have done this a few times at that main bump, move your finger just a tiny bit lower to the next bone down, and repeat the same gentle sequence. This entire transition area at the base of your neck only accounts for about 5 to 10% of your neck's total movement. It is a very small percentage, but it carries a massive amount of importance. When this specific zone moves freely, every single part of your neck above it suddenly feels lighter, and you will notice that your shoulders feel loose and relaxed too. Best of all, it reopens that vital highway, allowing a fresh stream of oxygen-rich blood to journey right up into your balance computer. Now that we have guided the bones at the base of your neck back into a happy, open alignment, we need to address the tight muscle bands running along the sides. When a neck muscle stays chronically tight and contracted, it acts like a heavy weight pressing down on everything around it, including those vital vertebral arteries. Gently stretching these specific areas isn't just a matter of making you feel comfortable. It is a direct form of therapy to open your circulation. For our second neck exercise, I want you to take one hand and place it completely flat on your collarbone on one side. Gently press down on that collarbone to anchor it firmly. Now, very slowly and without any sudden or jerky movements, tilt your head away to the opposite side and lift your chin slightly upward toward the sky. The moment you do that, you will feel a beautiful, clean stretch running down the front and side of your neck. You are stretching a very important muscle with a long name, the sternocleidomastoid. It travels all the way from just behind your ear down to your collarbone. When we spend our days reading or looking down, this muscle becomes tight, pulling our head forward and pinching the inner structures of the neck. Hold this stretch right at the point of comfortable tension. There should be absolutely no pain or sharp sensations, just a deep, relaxing pull. Take a slow, deep breath and let that muscle relax. Once you have held that stretch for a few comfortable breaths, slowly bring your head back to the center and switch sides. We want to make sure both pathways are completely open and balanced. Remember, we are completely skipping those aggressive ear-to-shoulder drops that strain the middle of the neck. We want everything to be gentle, controlled, and deeply therapeutic. To finish this first block of our protocol, we are going to do a simple self-massage to completely release any lingering tension. I want you to reach both of your hands around to the back of your neck. Place your fingertips on either side of your spine, right on those thick muscle bands. Using firm but very gentle pressure, begin to knead those muscles in a slow circular motion, working your way from the base of your skull all the way down to your shoulders. As you do this, I want you to keep a beautiful truth in your mind. Your neck is not just a collection of bones and joints. It is the vital corridor through which every single piece of communication travels between your brain and your body. Every nerve pathway and every single blood vessel passes right through this space. Freeing your neck doesn't just improve your balance. It restores a strong, healthy flow of blood to your entire brain. This means sharper short-term memory, clearer thinking, a brighter mood, and a wonderful feeling of overall vitality. By looking after this one small area, you are unlocking a beautiful cascade of health benefits for your entire body. Now that we have successfully removed that mechanical tightness in your neck and reopened the main fuel lines, we are ready for our second block, training the cerebellum directly. I have some wonderful news for you. Your balance computer responds to regular training in the exact same way a muscle does. When you give it a safe, appropriate challenge, it immediately goes to work updating its own hardware, strengthening its neural connections, and building brand new pathways. In medicine, we call this incredible lifelong ability neuroplasticity, and your cerebellum possesses an enormous capacity for it, no matter how many birthdays you have celebrated. For our first coordination exercise, we are going to practice a gentle pelvic rotation with limb coordination. I want you to stand up safely, placing your feet about shoulder width apart. If you feel a bit unsure, please feel free to stand near a sturdy kitchen counter or a heavy chair so you can place a hand on it for support whenever you need to. Now, slowly and smoothly, begin to rotate your hips in a gentle circle. As you keep that smooth circle going with your hips, you will naturally notice that your legs want to follow along with the rhythm. That is your balance computer trying to coordinate your weight. Let's lean into that. Try adding a small circular stepping motion with one foot, timed right along with your hip rotation. Once you feel comfortable with that, we are going to add one more fun layer to give your cerebellum a true workout. While keeping your hips and legs moving, I want you to bring your hands up and make a light, alternating drumming motion in the air, completely independent of the rhythm of your lower body. The first few times you try this, your movements might collide, and you might lose your rhythm and laugh. Please don't feel discouraged at all. That slight awkwardness is actually a beautiful sign. It means your cerebellum is working right at the edge of its current capacity, and that is exactly where the training and neural growth happen. For our next exercise, we are going to learn a wonderful secret from professional dancers and figure skaters called spotting. Have you ever watched a beautiful ballet dancer spin around and around dozens of times on stage and then simply walk off in a perfectly straight line without a single wobble? They aren't born with a magical inner ear. They have simply trained their balance computer to use a specific technique that protects them from getting dizzy. When a dancer turns, their head does not rotate smoothly with their body. Instead, they lock their eyes onto one fixed point directly in front of them, a spot. They hold their gaze on that spot for as long as possible while their body turns beneath them, and then at the very last fraction of a second, they quickly snap their head around to find that exact same spot again. This clever technique keeps the balance organs deep inside your inner ear from getting overstimulated. To practice this safely at home, I want you to stand up tall near a wall or a sturdy counter for support. Find a small picture, a clock, or a point on the wall directly in front of you, and lock your eyes onto it. Now, slowly take 3 small steps to make a gentle, full turn in a circle, keeping your eyes on your spot for as long as you possibly can before snapping your head around to find it again. Once you complete the turn, pause, take a deep breath, and let your body settle. If you feel comfortable, you can try reversing the direction. Over time, your inner ear adapts to this movement, and your brain becomes incredibly skilled at maintaining your spatial orientation, making walking on uneven ground or in dim lighting feel like an absolute breeze. The third and most advanced level of coordination training is a beautiful, historic practice called Sufi spinning. For centuries, practitioners have used continuous, controlled spinning as a form of deep meditation and spiritual connection, turning for minutes at a time with absolute grace and zero dizziness. From a medical and neurological standpoint, this is the most powerful challenge you can offer your vestibular system. When you train your body to handle this level of rotation, walking across a dim room or stepping over a thick rug becomes an effortless task. If you want me to create a dedicated step-by-step video demonstrating the safe progression of Sufi spinning for your daily routine, please let me know by leaving a comment down below. As we wrap up our time together today, I want to leave you with a very important reminder. While these gentle exercises work wonders for all of us, our bodies do change as we gather more wisdom and years. When we are younger, balance issues often come from a sudden muscle strain or sitting at a desk too long. But as we cross into our 60s and 70s, these challenges are usually a slow accumulation of tightness and wear in the neck that has built up over decades. Because of that, older adults need to approach these movements with a beautiful sense of patience and a very gentle, steady progression. Please remember that you don't have to figure this all out alone, and you should always consult with your primary care physician to rule out any other underlying factors before beginning a new routine. Your independence, your freedom to move, and your peace of mind are worth every single bit of care. Practice these gentle neck openings and coordination games every day. Take it one beautiful step at a time and watch how quickly your wonderful balance computer responds. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Stay steady, look out for one another, and I will see you right here in our next video. God bless you.